that's it. Should be going live now.
Okay, well, thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Welcome to Action Coach's live lunch and learn live webinars. Get my tongue twisters out of the way. It's great to be with you this Thursday lunchtime, and it's also great to have Hannah Montgomery from Gold Dust Marketing with us. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm all good. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's great to have you with us. And I know today we're going to be talking about everything to do with direct mail and marketing. So we'll come back and I'll let you do a more formal introduction, more detailed in a minute, Hannah, but it's great to have you with us. For those listening with us today, it's great to have you with us as well. I can see we've got a number of participants joined onto the Zoom platform, which is fantastic. If you are on Zoom and you want to ask any questions during the webinar, either to myself or Hannah, please do put them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure we monitor that throughout this Lunch and Learn webinar. We're also broadcasting on Facebook, and for the very first time we have got a license to broadcast onto LinkedIn as well. So welcome to any viewers and listeners who are joining us this lunchtime on LinkedIn. It's great to have you with us as well. I always talk about how we can leverage our time and make more of the time we spend. So it's great that hopefully we can reach more listeners through both LinkedIn and Facebook. If you're listening on those platforms this lunchtime, please do give us a thumbs up. Tell us where you're listening to us from. We always love to know whereabouts in the country, whereabouts in Birmingham you're based. And also any questions you have, please do put them in the comments box below this feed. If we can't get back to you during the webinar, we'll absolutely make sure that either Hannah or myself reach out to you straight after and answer any queries and connect with you on both platforms. So Hannah, I'm already giving you some extra work there. I'm sure we'll get lots of inquiries coming in. But Hannah, it's absolutely delightful to have you with us this lunchtime. I've put your contact details up on the screen. It's you and I have known each other for some time and worked together. But Hannah, just for the benefit of those who are tuning in for the first time this lunchtime, tell us a bit about what you do at Gold Dust.
Well, Gold Dust, I've been trading as Gold Dust for the last 4.5 years. And there's 4 main areas in which I help clients. So although I've got experience in the entire marketing mix, I feel the best results are delivered from marketing strategy and planning. And then I'm sure you're definitely all with the planning and having the strategy. So that kind of aligns nicely for us. The event side of things, I used to, obviously COVID's took a bit of a hit on that, but I used to help people get ready for their major trade exhibitions. And I used to do a lunch and learn for a bigger return, delivered that for, so you know, when massive NEC based events are happening, Closer Still Media would ask me to go and deliver training to their top 20 clients that were spending a lot of money to make sure that they got return on investment from those events. But that's kind of dissipated, obviously, at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
And then I do project work, but the other thing that I focus on is direct mail because it gives return on investment and I love it and it's yummy. So I'm glad that's what we're talking about.
Great. Well, yeah, looking forward to hearing a lot more about direct mail in the next hour or so. I love that phrase there, lunch and learn for a bigger return. I might have to just pinch that one from you.
Steal that one?
With your permission. But that's what these lunch and learns are all about. And we were saying just before we started, they are informal. It's an opportunity for people who are on their lunch break just to catch up with Action Coach and with our guests, and to hopefully take away 1 or 2 things that they can implement in their business going forwards, maybe 1 or 2 action points to help them grow their own business. Now, before we started, you and I were just talking, Hannah, about direct mail, and I know I've pinched this from your own Facebook feed. So I think it looks like you've been out in the middle of the night doing your direct mail. But and I love the gold
never
envelope.
stops.
Absolutely, I've still got the gold envelope you sent me actually with your promotional materials inside. But it's the question, I guess, to start off the conversation is, should it be part of a strategy? And if so, what do we need? Where do we start with direct mail, Hannah?
Oh, well, the first thing is, if you haven't got any data, there's no point even looking into doing it. I have so many people that come up with these great ideas and they're really enthused. I'm like, who are you targeting? What is the message? What are you doing? And they've got no data and there's just a blank. Man.
Right.
There's no point.
So
no one's going to see it.
Yeah. When you say data, I guess you mean client data or sort of databases to send to?
Yeah. So knowing who you're targeting. So I've just got off the phone to a client that is trying to target accountants and solicitors within 30 miles of their HQ. So that's quite clear. And we know who we want to target. So we want to target the financial director and we want to target the managing director. And how we're going to do that is One, I can get data. So on average, you can get data from various different sources. You can get it from magazines, you can get it from colleges and universities, you can get through Freedom of Information Act, you can get local government information for free, but it takes ages to come through, but they have to supply it with you to you if you've given a FOI request. You can get it from credit card companies, but you can also go to data broker houses and purchase data that way. Or you could sit on your lunch break and try and just type in solicitors 30 miles and then get the data yourself, but it can be quite costly.
Yeah.
But on average, people pay 45p a contact. So that's for email, address, job title, and the person's name. But I can get data much cheaper because I buy it so frequently for different people. So if anybody on the call is looking to target anywhere for data, I'm more than happy to pass on the discounts that I get, because more data that helps my clients, because then it reduces the cost for them. So the more data that I can buy, the better rates that I get for everybody.
So I guess from what you're saying, there are two avenues to go down. One, you either go and buy the data through yourself or through a data company, or you build your database yourself looking for publicly available information. I know that, in the past we've gone through the recruitment pages looking for organizations that are recruiting, because they're often organizations that are looking to increase and build the business. So it's being strategic about where you're getting the data from, I guess. But there is so much publicly available data out there. Even just seeing vans driving down the road, if you see a van of a company organization you want to connect with, then they've got the information written on the side. Grab a photo of it and connect with them. But there's so many sources of information out there, isn't there, publicly available for organizations. It's
being compliant with GDPR as well.
Absolutely.
So since all of that came in, so I'm registered with the ICO, which is, I can never remember what
Information Commissioner's Office.
There you go. That's the one.
There we are.
So I can then handle my clients' data and handle it in the right way.
Yes.
But still, you've got to be very careful. Another way of getting a database straight off the bat. So if people are listening and they're like, well, where do I even start? I don't even know where to start with data. You can scrape the data from your LinkedIn contacts off LinkedIn, cipher through that on an Excel spreadsheet, and you've got your basics of a database there.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant. And if you want to know more about GDPR, we did a webinar a few weeks ago with Helen Phillips from the Contract Doctor. So for those listeners, go back to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to pick up on that webinar. And we spent an hour talking about GDPR, and even that wasn't enough time, really. So it's a complex area, but there are, I guess, the starting point from what you're saying, Hannah, there is so many places to gather that data from. But once you've got the data, I mean, I guess my next question, over the last 6-8 months in Action Coach, I've been working with many organizations that have turned to digital marketing. It's become the go-to place to ensure your business not just survives, but thrives for many business owners. That's been their mindset. Is there still a place, Hannah, for direct mail?
Yeah, I think there's a place for everything, and if it's used across everything. So often a direct mail campaign that a client of mine will do, they will then have it as a roller banner on the website. They'll have it as an electronic direct mail. They'll have it almost as their advertisement that they're putting into magazines or publications at the time. So spreading that message clearly through every single medium that you're using to make it all tie in, because people have so many different touch points. So if they see that there, then they see it again. And with direct mail, you have the ability to be very clever with it, so it stands out more.
Yeah, as a comment from Claire, who's tuned in, saying she has believes that direct mail stands out more than anything else at the moment. It really stands out and amongst all the other emails she gets. So great point to make, Claire. Yeah, I guess there is that opportunity to stand out from the crowd right now by, especially I go back to lockdown, and I think of a box of biscuits, Hannah, that I received from a client who I'd given some business to. And she'd taken the time to send a box of shortbread in the post. And in the lockdown, when I wasn't getting much other post and I couldn't go out anywhere, that item of mail that came to the post, I still think about it now, really made a difference. And I suspect that in a world where everything has gone digital, if you can connect with your customers in that direct way. But that leads me on to a question, Hannah, about people working from home and working in the office and having direct mail contacts where it's actually going to get to. So I guess my question: how can we guarantee the direct mail is going to get to the recipient we intend it to?
Yeah,
Any
that is the
tips?
hard thing with people. So it's easier if you're doing direct mail to customers that are already there. So actually that picture on screen at the moment, I got some branded face masks done for some of my clients, and
Okay.
then I got their home addresses, asking for them, said that I was sending them something, and everybody gave it to me. So yay, my clients don't think I'm too
Right.
stalkery. And then I sent it to them. But that's because I wanted it to get there quickly. I suppose if you'd sent it through to the head office, someone has to go and collect the post and distribute it out. But I don't know how frequently that is. So there is that issue at the moment.
Yeah, so from what you're saying there, it's often the simple thing is just to ask for a contact address, say you've got something to send out that's, and you know, is that with your existing clients, Hannah?
Yeah, that's all existing clients.
So how would direct mail, what would you do differently for, you know, new prospects that you hadn't got the relationship with? How would you use direct mail in that situation?
It depends who you're trying to target. So I've got loads of the reason why it works is actually not just because it's because it makes people feel something. So it's neuroscience. That's why hard copy, you'll remember, and Claire's got it still on her desk, and that you can remember those biscuits because your brain's right. Okay, Royal Mail commissioned this study, but
Yeah.
we've got to put, there's probably some bias. Royal Mail commissioned it, but they commissioned Millward Brown, which are a market research agency, and Bangor University to use an MRI scanner on people to see the effects on the brain that happen between various degrees of direct mail. So they scanned people before they had any form of direct mail, then they scanned them after email, and then they scanned them after tangible hard copy direct mail. And the neuroscience of it builds relationships whether you know it or not. And the best advice that I can give you is, so you're targeting the financial director and you're targeting the managing director. That's who's going to be the key decision makers maybe for your campaign.
Yeah.
Send it to everybody that you can find in that office, because they are busy people. They probably won't open it. But if Sandra on the front desk is opening it and going, "You've got one of these, Sheila, have you got one of these, Tony, have you got one of these?" It makes it almost go viral within the office and everyone feels part of it. And then it gets you past the gatekeeper. So when you call up and say, so an example, I had one client that's a logistics company called On Logistics, and they were launching a new product called My Festival Bag. It was actually on Dragon's Den. Nick went and pitched on there. But we were wanting to launch it. So it's the hassle-free movement of camping equipment to and from a festival to avoid needless landfill waste. So that's their customer value proposition. So that's what it was. So we assessed the market and we saw, so this was a really targeted, really bespoke, one-off targeted direct marketing campaign. So not a campaign for a year. We were trying to assess who had the most amount of campers in the UK. So you'd think Glastonbury because it's the biggest one. It's not. Festival Republic own Leeds, Reading, Download, Wireless, Latitude, tons of the ones. So in terms of camping capacity year on year, Festival Republic had the biggest chunk of the market. So we didn't even tell them what it was. It was just an A5. So anyone that's got any experience with print, it was an A5 double-sided full colour print in a coloured envelope. It had paper musical notes that came out of it, and it was sent in a coloured envelope and it was handwritten. And I wanted a conversation with the head of sustainability and the CEO, bearing in mind they've got offices in London and they've got hundreds of employees. We sent out about just shy of 100, the contacts that I managed to find on LinkedIn from stalking. And we even put on the direct mail piece, apologies if the person sat next to you hasn't got one of these. They're just very good at hiding themselves on social media. Why not show them to try and make everyone feel inclusive, everyone feel like they were part of it.
Yes.
So I kind of said to the client, "Oh, I'm definitely gonna get this call, definitely gonna get this call." And then, you know, crunch time happens. It was 11 o'clock on a Thursday that I had to make the call, and I was pooping it a little bit. And I called, and Victoria, who I wanted to speak to, which was the head of sustainability, she wasn't available. So I was like, "Oh, okay. Did you get those green envelopes with the musical notes that popped out of them? Oh, you're Hannah, aren't you? Yes. She's left her mobile number. She definitely wants to speak to you. Here you go." And
perfect.
From that, and that just shows you have to follow up. I sent that to her. She had my contact details. She didn't contact me, but she left her contact details for me. You have to be prepared to follow it up and put more legwork in. But from the back of that, we then eventually got a meeting with her and the CEO, Melvin Benn, and then they got a free pitch and launched. I got backstage passes to Reading Festival. Brilliant. So that's off the back of a direct marketing campaign. So astronomically.
Yeah, and it reminds me of times when we've used direct mail, and I often think of it as a way to, you creating that warm introduction, so that when you do phone to have a more in-depth conversation about how you can support or how you can work together, you've sort of broken down some of those barriers. And there's a couple of things you just mentioned there, Hannah, I just want to highlight. I'm sure you know your industry inside out, but for the benefit of our listeners, you on the screen there, and you've talked about sending coloured envelopes. I think that's really crucial. Whatever you do, listeners, don't send them out in manila envelopes or white envelopes, but do something a bit different so it stands out. I think it gets past the gatekeeper. And the other point you mentioned there, Hannah, was handwriting the envelope. Again, I think a crucial tactic just to try and get past, if you receive a handwritten envelope, we don't often receive them these days, do we? But if we do receive a handwritten envelope, we're more likely to, out of intrigue,
it is
open
intrigue, but you think there might be a birthday card or money in there.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Here with Action Coach, we use brightly coloured envelopes, and we often use a gold or a silver pen and handwrite the address, just to make it look like it's something personal rather than a standard bill or a standard round robin envelope, just to try and get past the gatekeeper. So Hannah, we've talked a bit about building the database. Then we've talked a bit about tactics or methods in terms of sending it out. I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of the follow-up. I think it's so crucial, isn't it? There's no point in, and just out of interest, I mean, Paul has just said in the comments box, how long should we leave between sending it and following it up, Hannah?
Depends on the stamp. If you've gone, the ideal is to have recorded delivery, because then you can guarantee that it's there. So I've done that through a few campaigns, because when it's going to drop and they're going to sign for it. But if it's first class, give it 2 days. So the ideal thing, often some clients have mailers that they have and they just pull off when they're finding it hard to have a conversation. So they have a stack of them underneath a desk. One of these examples, this is for a client of mine called Lord Combustion Services. They do commercial boiler fit outs, so not particularly sexy or different in the market. If you looked on their website, they're all pretty much the same, all that genre of website. So this kind of allowed us to break the guidelines a little bit, and that's what I like about direct mail, because you can play with the brand a little bit, because it's a one-off piece. You don't disrupt it, you keep to certain elements, but you can have a bit more fun with it. So although they do commercial boilers for everyone nationwide, they wanted to target the schools before they went into lockdown, so they could go and do the servicing or any works during lockdown. So this was based on a Ladybird book. So it's Lord Combustion Services presents The Golden Locked Head Teacher in the 3 Schools. So Ofsted mandate, they're like kind of the rule setters for school, and schools have to hit Ofsted requirements, and there's certain requirements for temperature or a school has to shut down. So there's Bakeswell, Chillsville and Lord Combustion School, and then there's the Golden Locked Head Teacher holding her Ofsted inspection report with a wonderful smile. One was too cold, one was too warm, and one was just right for optimum learning and information retention. Then on the back, it looks very much like a Ladybird book, and talked about the other titles in the series, which are then their other offerings that they can do. And then this says that they're accredited, trusted and compliant. We're CRB checked. We're all right to be in your school. Then it was a notebook. So there's a reason to keep it on your desk further, because you're going to use it to make notes. And then, as sexy as we could make it, a before and after of a boiler fit out. And then we reassured in terms of saying that we work with 500 other educational establishments. Here's our contact details. So there was a reason for it to be on people's desks and to keep as well.
Yeah. And that takes me. So it takes me on to a great question, Hannah, in terms of, well, I think it's a great question, but what should we send in the post? We've sent all sorts of things in terms of chocolate bar. We've sent curly whirlies. I was saying to you just before we started, we sent curly whirlies, we sent Action Club club bars, we've sent Mars bars, we sent, so is there something that works better as in your experience, having done direct mail for so many years, what works and what doesn't work in terms of sending? Should we send anything at all?
It's the cost of the acquisition. So if you're selling a pen and the pen is worth 10 pence, then maybe direct mail isn't the right one for you, or you need to send it in bulk. The best kind of direct marketing story that I've heard through marketing grapevine, whether it happened or not, but when you're doing your charter qualifications and stuff like that, you have to read tons of case studies. And they had said that they'd wanted to get people to come and meet with them at an exhibition. So this company had sent one ski to the managing directors of 10 companies that they'd kind of done their due diligence on, credit checked them. These were like really hot prospects that they wanted to work with. And they said, if you come and meet us at the exhibition stand, you'll get another ski and a ticket to go on a skiing holiday, which that's bribery. It depends on what the cost is. So what they were selling was going to outweigh the cost of that holiday. So you can send a chocolate bar, and that's a minimal amount, even with your postage, a couple of stamps, with your print. Maximum cost, you're probably going to go £3 to £5 per mailing.
Yes, yeah.
And if then that helps you stand out, brilliant. But you could do all kinds of things. There's so many promotional items that you could send out, different things, but is that going to be worth the cost per acquisition? And are you then going to get the calls from it? So I would trial on a small scale first before you buy and commit yourself to thousands of chocolate bars or and get feedback. But the best thing to do, go to your customers or go to your clients' customers. So before we even launched the Law Combustion one, we went to Law Combustion school clients that were already in the KeepNet and said, would you open this? Have we got the messaging right? Is there anything we're saying on here that would offend you? Because you don't know what you don't know. Like we said at the beginning of this conversation, I think when we first jumped on, I'm not the customer. You're not the customer. So you need to ask them as well. It saves you so much money and makes things so much more successful. That's a really good tip.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hannah. Caroline's tuned in, so she's got a question. She said, I know your lovely gold envelopes stand out really well with yummy chocolate bars, but do you have any other suggestions? She's looking to take advantage of the Kickstarter to employ staff to progress in marketing and help us with this. Do you feel that's a good plan?
Let me go in and kind of digest it.
Can you see the question there as well?
No, I can only see it on here. So Caroline's wanting to send a direct marketing out. So people are going to use the Business Launch Academy to take on staff, or I'm sorry, I've got confused with myself.
Yeah, no, let me see if we can bring Margaret in. Caroline in. Let me see if we can chat to I'm just seeing if I can bring her in live. I'm not sure I can. Pam's in the background doing the host. Pam, perhaps you can bring Caroline in if possible as the host and see if we can have a quick chat with her on the webinar. Just while we're trying to get that arranged, Hannah, any sort of real success stories in terms of what people have sent in the post, or real sort of areas, things to avoid, real sort of danger zones, I guess? What shouldn't you send?
No, the best, this never go political. That would be a top tip, especially right now. Don't go political and don't do anything that can offend. I think we've got Caroline. Hi, Caroline.
We have. Hi, Caroline. Good to have you with us.
You all right?
Yes, I'm really well. How is everybody?
Not too shabby.
All
too shabby.
good,
I got
thanks.
confused with what you said, Caroline. I think I overthought it and then went into a mind melt. Can you reiterate what you'd said?
To be honest, after I typed it, you kind of answered my question for me. You literally progressed to the next bit about what you send out. And on the screenshot that we've got here, part of your strategy, it kind of answered my question. But the other thing, which we're going to take a bit of a sidestep with, is we're looking to potentially take advantage of Kickstart through the FSB and have staff that are really looking to progress in marketing. Do you feel that that's probably quite a good plan? Is that something you're doing a bit of work with at the moment, or you know much about?
I've literally just spoken to a client because it was like a deep dive and they wanted me on board to just do their marketing. It's not cost effective to have me to just do your marketing. So the best thing to do is to actually, I've suggested to him to do the Kickstart or an apprenticeship and have people on board that you can then give the strategy, because yes, I think that people should be taking advantage of the Kickstart and having people coming in to help with the marketing.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for today, guys. It's really inspirational, and I'm all good. You've answered quite a lot of my questions. So thank you.
Brilliant. Well,
it's recession marketing. If you don't market now, the stat is that it will take 5 years to recover if you don't market in a recession.
Okay.
Over if you have marketed within a recessionary period. And let's not be too doom and gloom. You know, things aren't going to be all rosy all the time. And am I heading into tier 2 this weekend in Staffordshire? Nobody knows. Things are uncertain. But if you're consistently putting your message out there and just look at what you're putting, make sure it's not marketing noise. If you look at this is going to schools and giving schools a message. Your combustion have tons of different messages, but they negated the marketing noise and just said one thing to one target. So think about who you're targeting and make sure it's razor sharp what you're saying. Don't be too fluffy.
Okay, that makes total sense. I did see that marketing noise clip that you put on your Facebook, which was really good, and it made a lot of sense. So thank you.
But sometimes you do, don't you? Sometimes you're so, unless you step back from something, you put all of your ideas on a page and you're like, yeah, trying your best, and then you're like, and nobody gets it. You get it, but you're not your client. So once again, test.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. I completely agree with what you're saying, Hannah. I mean, in everything we do at Action Coach, we always talk about test and measure. You know, see what's working, what's not working. And as you said earlier on, don't invest all your money in one strategy straight away. Try it and see if it works, and then you know, make your judgment from there. And the other thing, Hannah, you've just mentioned again there, we many of our clients, we've been saying, you know, as we've gone into lockdown and gone through the lockdown process and come out the other side, the one thing we must not stop doing is marketing, making sure our existing clients, potential new clients, know we're there and want, you know, are ready to do business with. Many of the people listening may well be from smaller businesses. Hannah, in terms of smaller companies, how can they really maximize the opportunity of direct mail?
I've got a couple of options to show you. Obviously, I just like
go for it. Always love examples, Hannah. Always love examples.
So this is probably the cheapest print that you could probably, one of the printers cheap, you know what I'm saying, cheapest print you could possibly do for a direct mail piece. So it's an A5 double-sided postcard. And this was for a client of mine called In Life Design. They do websites, they do SEO, they do different things. But once again, they wanted to target their message. So we were just focusing on growing their SEO clients. So you can't really see this, but it looks like a Where's Wally maze. And it's a Google maze. And they've got an avatar who is Brian, that's like their company mascot. They're geeks. They will wholeheartedly say it themselves. And they love Monty Python. So it's In Life of Brian. That's why they've got the avatar called Brian. So you've got to look in the Google maze and see if you can find Brian. So it's a bit of fun. And then it just kind of highlights that that's what it's like being found in Google if you haven't got your SEO done properly. And then it's here, you know, be found just as easily as the post person found you to deliver this postcard. If you search In Life SEO on Google, you'll find us at the top. So that had clear message, tongue in cheek, really. But then the phone conversations were aided because people remember it. And that's the cheapest thing. So as a small company, if you've got something clever like this, then you've got it on your website, then you've got it. And I know that Dave bought a small load of these to begin with and then bought more once he found it was successful. But you can literally have them underneath your desk. And if you've made a phone call and someone's not putting you through, send one of these, then 2 days' time, ring up to as many people as you can and go, oh, did you get that direct mail? Because isn't it horrible when you speak to someone and they go, who do you want to speak to? And you go, oh, to Steve. Is he expecting your call? Well, no, maybe. Because as a small company, you've got to be all things. And I hate getting on the phones. And I don't mind getting on the phones if I've got something like that to back it up, because people have already got the relationship with you and they're a bit warmer with you. So
you're breaking down that first barrier by sending something in the post through direct mail, which is great. And any other, sorry, you had a couple of examples, Hannah. Any other examples you want to share?
I think talking about clients, so direct mail to clients. So you're trying to get new clients, brilliant, but let's try and develop the relationships that you've already got with your current clients in this time. I don't know what everybody did during, you know, the beginnings of lockdown and what have you, but I sent kind of care packages to some clients and offered them free, you know, free support. And I know that you send chocolate bars. I send gold bars, which is brilliant. The cost on these, send branded cupcakes, but this much more cost effective. I think a pack's £1.
Yes.
Yay. But it doesn't
Yeah,
cost
no,
that much. And they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I love them.
We often send out Kit Kats. Again, we wait till they're on offer in Sainsbury's or Tesco's, and then a multi-pack of Kit Kats. Have a break. We'd love to have a chat. It's something like that. It just helps to, and when we phone up, did you get the chocolate bar? Did you get the Kit Kat? And whether they got it or not, it gives us a way in to have that conversation.
Yeah, it stops it.
Absolutely.
Well, I got these. So instead of purchasing branded thank you cards or congratulation cards, what have you, try and think of a really loose card that you could get. So mine's "We think you're golden." So you can write anything that you want in the center, and then I ask for a cheeky Google review on the back and ask them to do a good deed of the day as well. But then I send these out to anything. So, for instance, the Chamber of Commerce have just inducted a new president, and there's outgoing presidents and all the rest of it. So I was sat in on the AGM and then went, oh, you know what would be nice? If I say congratulations to James who's leaving or what have you, and I had these ready to rock and roll. I didn't have to think of a whole campaign. It was just, oh yeah, I've got that. So I always have a stock of stamps and a stock of these to just send out in golden envelope.
Right.
So this is quite a cost-effective way of doing something as well. Don't necessarily just have thank you, but have some branded business cards that you can send out for anything that week.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not necessarily a campaign that hits people remember it. So it's what we call critical non-essentials. Those things like a birthday card, or something to note or sort of make a fuss of, or to to compliment somebody on something they've done well. Really does sort of set stay in people's minds, doesn't it? As you say there, welcome or thank you cards for the Chamber of Commerce. That's going to help them to remember you when they're thinking about marketing going forwards.
And it's just a nice thing to do.
Absolutely. Yes. It's relationship building.
Cards and posts. I love it. And I love direct mail. And the reason I do, the best return on investment that I've got for a client thus far, so hoping to break it, is 7,185%, which sounds magnificent, and it is. But that is because they sold IT. Their baseline for their product was £3,600. And also they had a very targeted message, and they had a very good product. So the idea that I came up with was a good idea. If they then hadn't have followed it up by the right person following it up at the right time, if then they weren't selling the right thing for that person that they targeted at the right price, it wouldn't have, that return on investment wouldn't have happened. It's a whole team thing. So although marketing helps you open the door, the sales team need to close it.
Yeah. So what you're saying there, Hannah, is it needs to be part of a bigger process. So the direct mail is part of a process of selling in your organization. It's about having that mapped out from, as we said at the beginning of this webinar, Lunch and Learn, building your database. Do you know who you're trying to target, and having the right people in place to begin with? Then building that database, getting the right source and the accurate source of information, and whether it's home or the office, etc. And then I guess sending the right thing in the post, something that's appropriate and appropriate to what you're trying to do. Thinking about your return on investment. You
can be clever with it as well, and you can get people to interact via the direct mail. So I'm doing a campaign at the moment for an IT company that I'm working with, and they're the ones that are trying to target predominantly the managing director and the finance director, who often talk but aren't always in the same room. So it's sending a combination to the FD, sending the box to the managing director, with the combination, getting them recorded delivery sent on the same day. So we know that they're delivered, and they're delivered on the same day. And the FD, the card for the FD says, go and find the managing director to open the box. And the managing director goes, your FD has something that will make this make more sense. Therefore, they have to communicate with one another in order to open the direct mail piece, and then we'll have a conversation about it. So you're adding more theatre. It's all about adding theatre, really, direct mail, and getting people to recognise it and think about it.
And Hannah, you talked about return on investment. Jay's just asked a question. Is return on investment better with bigger or smaller size organisations? Is it the bigger the organisation, the lower the return on investment?
It completely depends on who you're targeting and if your data's good. So if you have pre-qualified, so some of the targeted campaigns that we've done. So for instance, this campaign was targeted, this was really targeted. So this is like the Care Lottery. And the purpose for this was, unfortunately, I think it was it was Croydon. It was Croydon Council. They had a panorama programme about them because they'd left an old person that was dead for 4 days that they were delivering care to, but the care worker had been fraudulently signing the clock in and clock out sheets, and then the person was dead for 4 days. So that was on panorama and how this wasn't working. This was so targeted, not just to Croydon, because we didn't want to just jump on that, but to Surrey and to Sutton. And we got meetings with all of them, but it was a one-off direct marketing campaign that could only go to those three things. It was why play the care lottery? If you use our system, you won't be paying it. One of their neighbouring authorities that they all knew because Tina was very gobby. So it was good because they knew that Tina, they could ring up and clarify that Tina had put this quote. They'd saved £1 million in the first year of implementation. It was just a massive scratch card, and then we got all the meetings. So the return on investment for that was brilliant because it was so targeted. Now imagine if you sent this, but the message wasn't clear and it didn't have the logos on it, and you were just sending it to any old data. And so
Absolutely.
I have got stats for, so this is from the Royal Mail, that per mailer, on average, £3.22 of return on investment is possible from £1 investment. So that's what they're saying. On average, the return on investment is
Right.
all direct mail. But that's from the Royal Mail. So it's completely the nuances on the market and the messaging that you're putting it to and the data, really.
And Hannah, Sarah's just asked a question, and I think I know your answer is going to be it depends, but I'll ask it anyway. She's saying, in terms of expectations, what sort of numbers should we be sending out to actually be hitting the right level of response rates? So I think what she's saying is, how many items do we send out? Say you want to get 10 people responding or get 10 clients. How many mailers should we be doing? Is there a sort of a scientific or stats you can refer us to, or any?
No, there's no kind of off the as well. It is depends, but that would go back to the testing stage. So don't spend all your money on having 1,000 printed. Have 100 printed. Have a plan of when you're going to send them up, when you're going to follow them up, and what the process is, and qualify even when you're doing the calls. Did you get this direct mail piece? Yes. Oh, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Actually, was that messaging right? And it will help the conversation happen, but you'll also get clarity on if there's any tweaks then before you push it out to a wider audience. But there's no point sending it out if you're not going to follow it up.
No, absolutely. I absolutely agree. That phone call follow-up is so important. I think we talked earlier on, didn't we, about the amount of time you should leave between the item going out and actually making that phone call, and it depends on the postage, of course, but 2 or 3 days max to get maximum return on the investment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always worth sending on a Monday because you know that they will be received that week, often with mail. Whereas if you send it on a Thursday, then it might get delivered at the weekend. Some caretaker might go in, pick it up and put it on the side. I found it better to send direct mail out on a Monday and then follow it up a Wednesday, Thursday, because people are more into their week and they're more likely to have a conversation. But on a Friday, people will have conversations with you, but they won't make buying decisions and they'll try and fob you off. Better on a Wednesday and Thursday, in my experience.
Yes, and I say to many of my clients, use Friday afternoon as a planning time for the following week. Get yourself in the right place for a Monday morning start. Because you're quite right. People are tying up loose ends on a Friday afternoon. They're not going to want to make buying decisions, and if they do read something and pick it up in the post, they're probably not going to act on it until the following week either. So you're absolutely, I completely agree with you.
It depends on the need. So in terms of telecoms, I think BT are decommissioning some kind of phone network as of 2025. So there is then a need for people to change their phones. So people might then relate more to a direct mail campaign because it's something they have to do because the things will be cut. Also compliance, if there's something that contractually you have to be compliant to, people do. So it depends on what the message is that you're putting into your direct mail. Is there is there something you've got a golden ticket, you've got this offer, response must happen by the end of the month, I don't know. And if you put a more definitive and defined call to action, then that normally makes action happen if the person wants it to, because they feel, oh gosh, I'll just do that now. So
Yes, if you're an accountant and tax returns are due at the end of January, you're going to be whenever you're mailing out, there's that deadline's not going to shift, is it? So
Yeah.
it's you're maximizing. So it depends on what you're saying, I guess, is in the mailing that you're sending out, Hannah.
well, people,
Hannah, just before we draw things to an end, in terms of top tips for any of our listeners this lunchtime, any thoughts, any suggestions you want, or things you want to leave us with in terms of top tips for the direct mail going forwards?
put some thought into it, put some planning into it, and tweak it, and always ask your clients that are already in the Keep net, that you're trying to then find more people exactly like your clients. Ask them what they think of it. Getting customer opinion is worth its weight in gold. It's helped me from doing clangers in the past. So I would definitely recommend and it helps with customer relations as well. That's a really real top tip that not everybody does. That's easy, free, and I would do.
Yeah, and I guess if you're part of any sort of networking group, or you've got trusted clients in other industries, getting people that you can test things out on is so useful and so important. To get that impartial and biased feedback can save you thousands, I guess, in investing in a campaign that actually somebody else might just make you aware of something that either you said earlier on about not straying into politics, but there might be something political, there might be something religious connotations that you just want to make sure you avoid and don't cause offense in your direct mail. So testing things out and getting feedback is so important, I guess. The
worst campaign I ever did was when I was bullied into doing it when I worked actually at the Fort Dunlop that's behind you for a company called Gold Later. And at the time they were a top 30 UK advertising agency, and the managing director wanted a campaign to go out about Bernie Madoff, and Bernie Madoff had kind of fraudulently took money off people, and people had killed themselves because of that. He had ruined lives, right? That's the kind of baseline of it. And I had to ring up a campaign that had Bernie Madoff all over it, and people were the calls were horrific. It was horrible. People were going, I just think that's disgusting. I don't know why you're doing that. So actually, it can have a detrimental effect if you don't get the messaging right. So never lead with politics, never lead with anything that could be controversial. You're trying to make people feel something. People buy based on how they feel. You want them to feel happy when they think of you. Like toilet roll. Why do we buy toilet roll? We were scared. Why did we spend so much at the supermarket? We were scared. So fear made us do that. It has to give people a feeling, but let's not give people fear.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great having you part of the Lunch and Learn this Thursday, Hannah. So I guess just to ask the final question: should direct mail be part of the strategy, Hannah?
Yes, it should. 100%. I love it. It's the best.
I'm not surprised by that being your answer, but it's great to to find out more about it through you. In terms of Hannah, if people want to engage with you further, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they've got many listens on both Zoom, Facebook, and LinkedIn this lunchtime. If people want to have a conversation with you, Hannah, about how they can take that further, what does that look like? I'll put your details on the screen. What's the next step?
What's the next step? One, I can help you get cheap data. Also, I have 4 campaigns that I can do on a reduced rate for you and send out double-sided A5 postcards, all the print included, for £199. So you get a campaign that either looks like this one, but then you change the messaging and you change your logo. This one, there's I've got them over here, but there's 4 that I can send you the link to the website on what they're on. But for £199, you can send out to 50 data contacts a campaign. So
brilliant.
The design and all the rest of it, you wouldn't be able to do it cheaper yourself. So if anyone's interested,
so that includes the printing, the design, and everything.
Print, design, and postage, and personalisation to yours.
Brilliant, for 50 contacts. That's a great offer from Hannah at Gold Dust. So if you're interested in that, please get in touch with Hannah. Her contact details are on the screen. We've talked, Hannah, not just about direct mail this lunchtime, but about the wider marketing strategy. We've touched on that. And if you are an organisation out there that is struggling with your marketing right now, or any aspect of your business, we'd also love to have a conversation with you. We've also just take the opportunity to promote our own offer at the moment. We've got 30X, which is Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach, has recorded 30 of his videos, 30 half-an-hour videos. That's 15 hours of training online, for just £30 a week. So it's hugely beneficial. And we're also offering a guarantee that if you don't get value out of that, we'll give you your money back, because we absolutely believe in the content that we're offering to our clients at the moment. We believe in the structures and processes that Brad has tried and tested, and we at Action Coach here in Birmingham have tried and tested for the last 30 years. So if you want to dip your toe in the water and find out a bit more about what coaching is about and how it can support your business and get some really good hints and tips to grow your business, please get in touch with us here at Action Coach, and we'd love to tell you more about our 30x program. My contact details on the screen, as are Hannah's. It's been great having you, Hannah, this lunchtime. Thank you to everyone who's been listening to us, whether you've been on Facebook, whether you've been on LinkedIn for the first time, or whether you've joined us directly on Zoom. It's been great. We've got a number of great webinars. We've got one on recruitment coming up next week. We've got a number of really interesting topics over the next few weeks before Christmas. Oh, I just said that word, Hannah, Christmas. There's a great topic to do. Sorry?
The C word. I've already got all my promo items done. You're already, get your cards or whatever done now.
There we are. Absolutely.
New Year's cards. Don't send Christmas cards this year. Send New Year's cards, because everyone wants the back of this year. So if you hit them in January with a Happy New Year, let's hope it's better. That's another top tip. That's what I would do.
There we are. And that's why we love having people like yourself on these webinars, Hannah, because they always come up with BFOs, I call them, blinding flashes of the obvious, but great tips for our clients and our listeners. New Year cards. 2020 hasn't been the best of years for any one of us. It's impacted on us, all of us. But absolutely, let's get ourselves prepared and geared up right now for the best year in 2021. And you're right, quite right, Hannah. Things like Christmas cards, promotional materials, they don't happen overnight. I'm sure you could tell us that. It takes some planning and preparation. We've talked about getting the data in place, building your database, getting the contact details. So we need to start now. Don't wait till 3 weeks before Christmas to send your Christmas cards. Start planning that now. Start planning that campaign so that your direct mail can be the most effective campaign of the year for Christmas. But thank you, Hannah. Thank you for joining us this lunchtime. Really appreciate it. We look forward to welcoming you back again in the future. I hope you'd like to come back and join us again. Thank you to all our listeners. And for now, we will just say stay well, stay safe, and we look forward to catching up with you very, very soon. Take care now.
See everyone.
Bye-bye.